All right, Josh Greco of Pro Advisor Coach back here with Dr. Robert Flower. And today, we'd just like to get the conversation going about, man, achieving our truest potential, staying true to ourselves, being genuine. So often I deal with people who feel like they have to be different versions of themselves at work, in their personal life, and all over the place. And what would it mean for our lives if we can tap into this place to where we could just be natural all the time? And it didn't feel like we were putting on a show for somebody, and we didn't feel restricted with how we approach life. Dr. Bob, you got any thoughts on that subject?
Yeah, I was listening this morning to Aaron, quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, and he was talking about how much he's against the woke concept, simply because, and he really summed it up beautifully, simply because it puts you in a little box, and it tends or tries to identify you per that specific box, and how much he doesn't buy into, he disregards it. And I think that that's one of the worst things that we have going on today with people, youngsters, with people who are struggling to find themselves or to free themselves, either one of those. I'm not going to get into that particular concept, because I don't think it's worth it. I mean, my whole belief system, Josh, is if it in any way restricts your potential, physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, I'm against it.
Yeah, I want to make a quick comment on that, because it's the internal battle versus external, right? We perceive that cancel culture will come along or whatever, like if we speak our minds the way that we want to. Well, guess what? We're giving that permission to happen. I'll give a quick example. So there's a comedian, maybe you're familiar with him, maybe you're not, Louis C.K.
Yes.
I had a very, very embarrassing experience a couple of years ago with something that was, an extremely personal, flaw of his, you might say, that became very public. And guess what? He's bounced back. He's recovered. He's still a comedian, and he feels like he's been, no pun intended, exposed to the world. Like everybody knows everything about. There's nothing for him to hide anymore. And he said he's described it as a freeing experience. That he's faced the mob. He's been a victim of whatever they've canceled him for. He's got nothing to hide anymore. Like, how great would life be if you can just truly be yourself? You don't give any cares what other people think.
Yeah, and it is. It's great to be that way. Of course, the problem is that conventional thinking tends to poo-poo that. You're not part of the realm. The conventional group. And I'm definitely against that. I mean, actually, in my life, I've seen so many instances of leadership, right? Social leadership, religious leadership, governmental leadership, that they restrict all of us because of the restrictions on them. That they see something. They know it's wrong, but yet they don't do anything about it. They let it go, right? And I mean, instance after instance, I'm not even going to get into it, but that is so bad when it comes to people, especially younger people, trying to get ahead, trying to understand themselves and the world around them, right? And how much that totally restricts. I mean, it makes job like fellows like you and I that much more difficult, because you're not only trying to fight the existing concepts of the client or the individual. But now you've got, quote, regular society against what it is you're trying to overcome. So how do you, the trick I think is, how do you reach these people to show them that they have to stand alone sometimes, that they need to support themselves and be firm, and allow society to do its thing, you to do your thing, and at the same time be able to integrate with that society, you know? Because you get, how many times have you heard in your life, and you're much younger than me, how many times you heard in your life is, oh, he's crazy, you know, he's a nice guy, but he's, you know, he's a little off the wall, or, you know, that doesn't go. That it no, I mean, that's very, very difficult for consultants who understand um, that restriction to overcome. You know? I mean, I had one young fella today, yesterday. He sent me an email, and he said, "Jesus, you know," he says, "now things are starting to go good, and I'm afraid I'm going to fail." Hello, you know? I mean, how many times can you tell somebody like that? Yeah, that's the idea. That's the thrill of life. You know,
Mhm.
going through the experience and then learning how to overcome uh, the failure, and then realizing the power that you're gaining by that process, rather than, oh, look, people are laughing at me, people are not accepting me. You know, you're smiling. I know, I know what you're thinking. It's the same thing that I think a lot of coaches like us engage in and find on a regular basis. So tell me when you're coming across situations like that, what is your process? What are you trying to do to make them overcome or make them stronger?
Like when I'm dealing with a client who's questioning this, is that what you're saying? Yeah. Yeah, I think that strength that it takes to overcome that or to even face that situation must come from within. And maybe that's most of the problem of these perceptions or worrying about what people think of us or that will be judged, is letting go of our security blanket. Like there's great security in traveling in a pack and
Yeah,
having a group of friends that see what you see. And the risk is being in your own echo chamber, right? Of just having the same things espoused back to you that you believe in. And I think the only way we progress as humans is being challenged on what we believe in, because then we really find out what we believe in. And when we're asked to support it or defend it, then we really find out how much we believe in that. And we may get to a certain point to where your beliefs become stronger in a different avenue. It's like, oh, now that I see this, then I can believe in this. And no matter what, no matter who comes for me, I know that because I've experienced this. And you have this. It's where intuition comes in. I know that's a subject that you like to speak upon, because you know certain things about yourself. And even when the going gets tough, if you can check back in with that and still be on the right page with yourself, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what other people say, because you know it to be true for you. So with clients, it's a good question to frame it like that. I just check them on, well, what do you believe in? Do you really believe in what you're being asked to defend? Because that's really what's happening when a mob comes for you, or when when your beliefs are questioned. It's asking you to double down on what you believe in, and you either give that up and change direction, or you do double down because you genuinely believe in it. So which one's it gonna be?
yeah. You know, there was. I'm sure you must remember there was a famous football coach by the name of Vince Lombardi,
Oh yeah.
and he had a favorite saying: the crowd makes cowards of us all.
Ooh.
And you know, I used to love when you said that, because it's so true. You know, it's so easy to turn on your own beliefs, uh, and become part of the crowd when you don't want to be that way, or you know you shouldn't be that way. You know. Now, I'm not going to say that it's 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 against the rules to play the game, because I think we all do it sometimes. We all have those moments where we say, "I'm not going to get into this," you know, or "This is not the time or the place," or something like that. You know,
Sure.
go along. But as long as you maintain that strength and belief, that's the most important thing, you know. And of course, if you could find a way in those situations to express your strength and belief, that makes you even better.
Yeah, because you're influencing at that point. Because you're not only defending your position, picture your back is against the wall, even backpedaling. Here comes the mob. When you speak truth to power, as some might say, people know what that is when they hear it. So even if they disagree at first, I think some people can come around to your perspective if you really speak and outwit them with showing off that you've thought about this. I think we brought this up before. Jordan Peterson does a fantastic job of that. That man is a thinker. Do you know Jordan Peterson? I believe he's a clinical psychologist. He's a Canadian professor.
Oh, yes, yeah, the 12 points or
Yes,
something.
yeah, 12 Rules of Life is one of his books. Yeah,
Great.
yeah. He speaks at these conferences, and you can hear this, like there's nothing planned. It's like a stream of consciousness, but he's thought about all these things, and he's very hard to debate against or argue against because everything's so well thought out. So my point is, like, that's somebody that I think about. He's been attacked mercilessly, right, about his views and where he's coming from. And then if you talk to him, though, his beliefs, what he believes, is rooted in very deep, first of all, science, studies, but also just the psychology of people. And the reason I make that point is because he's somebody who he's proven or won people over based on how he can explain things. And if there's one thing that humans maybe could use some work on, is how we communicate with each other, and how we can not even convince each other, but how we practice communication so poorly with each other. We're hearing something from another person that may not even be attempted to communicate by the other person. It's all about our perception. So an adept communicator, especially in a time of chaos or argument, is, golden, because not only are they expressing their own argument, but they're willing to listen as well and hear what the other person's saying too.
Yeah, I keep coming back to something you said, I think last week, about we're spiritual beings living in a body. How true that is, and how many real spiritual advisors profess that, and how little it's believed, how little it's accepted. And if there were a way in which that concept can be put across more readily, you automatically have an evolving society that's reaching desired levels of accomplishment and achievement. And I think the one problem I find is that I was having a conversation with one of my daughters the other day, and she's a real rebel. She's an attorney, and she's all for these freedoms and whatnot, and doesn't believe in woke and council culture. And when I was trying to explain to her that what's missing in these movements, because she was talking about belonging to all different types of movements, you know, and how really she doesn't see anything happening. Uh, and I was trying to explain to her that, you know, the problem is that there isn't a set standard of structure, of thinking, of,
Mm.
of concepts, of focus that that people could follow to deal with the antithesis of those concepts, you know. And she says, "Well, you know, yeah, but Dad, you know, you dealing with religion all the time." I said, "I'm never dealing with religion. I'm using religious examples to make my point, but it's not religion, you know." And I mentioned to her uh, Laura Ingram, you know, whether you like her or not. She's always saying that we need an organizational standard by which to argue through, by which to present our thinking through. And we
Mm.
don't have that. Well, I beg to differ with you, Laura. I have a theory of potential, you know, which is scientifically as well as philosophically uh, and theologically based. Um, and I think sooner or later, I see people starting to jump on board there. But uh, that's the problem. You know, that's the basis of religion, of government, of family, is just that. You know, certain standards by which we act and we think through. All right. Um, but they're not working. They're not working. You know, even our government is great as the Constitution and the Bill of Rights are. There's no way to control these characters. I mean, you know, they say, well, you know, that's what we had the Second Amendment for. Well, yeah, okay, I believe that, but I mean, I don't think that walking down Pennsylvania Avenue with a musket in your hand or you know a pistol is going to get you anyplace in these days. And things like constitutional conventions and whatnot, uh, they don't work because the politicians and certain groups, societal groups, take control of those things when they occur and make it worse instead of making it better. So um, it's the lack of understanding or adaptation of organizational thinking and behavioral standards is what's holding us back, as a society, as a group. And you know, it was something I was hoping I could do with with counselors, consultants, advisors. You know, set up that standard that we could use that works. I mean, that's absolute. Um, yeah, yeah, people are responding to some degree, but they're so caught up in other things, Josh, that they're forgetting about the spirit part. They're only looking at the external part.
Mhm.
That, it's hard to deal with.
Well, this is how I've chosen to make sense of this, and I'm certainly open to other perspectives. But in my 33 years on Earth, this is where I've landed. Like life is hard. Can we just acknowledge that first and foremost? It's hard for everybody. You think of a millionaire, billionaire, they got problems, man. They do. I promise you. It may not seem like it, like you might be comparing your problems to them, but they still have problems that they deal with. Everybody has problems. This is a hard life. But to segue into the spirituality, thank you for that. That's how growth happens. We have to, like, when we're challenged about what, that's the whole point of what we're talking about. When we're challenged with things we know to be untrue, it's up to us to hold the standard to explain to people why that's occurring. You might have the analogy of like we're in a boat, right? And there's holes that keep popping up in the boat. But if we're going to plug those holes, let's do it the right way. Let's tell people why we're plugging the holes, why it's important to plug the holes. And guess what? The holes are not going to stop coming. There's still these little pariahs or whatever, piranhas in the water, whatever they are. There's people out there that haven't figured out or are not on the same journey that we are in our lives. We're trying to make this place a better place. And maybe they are in their own minds trying to do that by what their mission is. That's the crazy part of all this. Like they think they're doing the right thing. But if you can take that time and, like you say, set that standard with a place to have these debates or to communicate and to be heard, people are not heard. They don't feel heard. But in order to do that, you have to be as resourceful as possible. You have to dig deep within all that you know and all that you are to do the right thing. And thank God, because if we didn't have these challenges, who knows what we'd be capable of? How is potential pushed? How do we tap into potential? It's only through challenges. So thank God these challenges are here.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you. You are originally from upstate New York, right?
Correct.
Buffalo.
Yeah, just north of Buffalo. Yep.
And you are now down in Virginia.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Charlotte. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yep.
My son's college town. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. How do you find? How long ago did you move from Buffalo to North Carolina?
It's been about 10 years.
10 years. Okay. And what, may I ask, made you move?
It's a loaded question, but knowing that I wanted to reset and figure out what I wanted in life and what I didn't want, and also, job and business opportunity. I certainly could have found that in Buffalo, but I felt like I needed to be somewhere else.
Okay. So your thinking was established in Buffalo?
No, I was uncomfortable in Buffalo, and I found this thinking in Charlotte, which has made life a little bit easier to deal with, maybe is a good way to put it.
Okay, that's very interesting. Upstate New York has always been considered the idealistic capital of the Northeast, and I'm a little surprised to hear that, but I could understand it also because they tend to be very literal, and it's hard to get through to literal people, or I should say extreme people, whether you're literal or figurative. If you're at those extremes, it's very difficult to get through, and to have like for instance the Midwest. The Midwest is idealistic but very open, and I think it's easier to communicate their concepts.
Hmm.
Here, like where I am in downstate New York, very, very difficult to convince people of change. Look at things different.
It's very interesting. It's a cultural thing, maybe. And geographical. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I think cultural and geographical has a lot to do with it, and I think the hardships that you have, like in big population areas, like New York, for instance, or Chicago or something, I think that makes it a little more difficult as well to get people to look at things differently. But yes, yeah, this is my point. They're the ones that are having the hardest time in finding themselves. So on the one hand, they have this battle plan for survival, and then on the other hand, they have no plan at all for being what they are missing, what they deep down internally want to be. So they keep going. And every time they move a little closer this goes higher, you know. Well, of course it is, because it's the antithesis of this. You have to find the integrated um, uh, plan, program, organization that enables you to realize both dimensions, both aspects of your personality at the same time. And I think, you know, I have a lot of success with people doing that, you know, showing them where, you know, keep fighting over here. You know, we'll pick you up on the road, because the road is really over here. The road is, you know, I just love when they, I love to get into the conversation. Like I was telling you about my daughter, you know, she's very, she's very open, but yet uh, not understanding of the strength of pursuing a valid sense of of virtue and sound logic, sound thinking that leads you to potential, you know. And she said, "Well, what am I supposed to do?" Look, just follow your potential. It's, you know, it's if there were one sentence, few words to give to people about what to do, it's follow your potential. But make sure you do it evenly, physically, materially, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Don't just look to make more money. Because, you know, I mean, it helps, but it's not the answer.
Mm. What might you offer to people, Dr. Bob, that are right on the cusp of understanding that and then making that decision? How can they get their arms around that? Like, just saying follow your potential, you know, leaves a lot to be determined. What does that mean? What does that mean for people?
Well, I think the best way to explain it is, what are my weaknesses? You know, where am I lacking? You know, what sort of things am I not accomplishing? Especially things that I would like to accomplish. Uh, People like to be admired for something. They like to be acknowledged for something that they've achieved. Well, the greatest thing you can achieve, to me, is developing yourself, of being a sound person, being a person that that cares, somebody who's accomplished, somebody with wisdom, somebody who donates to society by simply following their dream, you know, to be Don Quixote, you know. Um, and I find myself in my later years now doing just that, you know, just following the mysteries. You know, what are they really telling us? Following the things that I've failed at a lot, and, and how to accomplish those things. I think that really helps people. I think it simplifies. You know, of course, we have some very sophisticated means by which we can help people realize those things and accomplish those things. But doing what we're doing is exactly what people need to be doing, and they don't necessarily need to be doing with guys like us, or with us, but with guys like us and gals like us, because I think it enables them to express themselves, enables them to get at their soul.
Yeah.
And recognize those things. I mean, how much more evidence do you need than what's going on in the world today? You know, I mean, my God Almighty! I mean, was the world falling apart or what? And it's more critical now than ever before to find workable standards that are not just for you, but for everybody. And that's also another key. It's uh, when I set up parameters for my people, I always try to show them both sides of the picture, because you're going to get to the other side of the picture, no matter how hard you try here. You eventually somehow you're going to end up, because that's your nature. That's what you like. So you better see it ahead of time, because that way you'll recognize it when it comes, when it doesn't slap you in the face.
Absolutely. I think what might be missing from people embracing that and figuring it out for themselves, what that is, what does the path look like, what is potential, how do I know if I'm achieving it, am I on the right path, is that self-reflection, that contemplation. I wrote down what you said. What are my weaknesses? I mean, that scares the hell out of me. Right?
Is it really?
Well, I don't want to do it. Like, when I wrote it down because I know it's important, but I have this resistance. I got all these other things to do, Dr. Bob. Why would I spend time doing that? But I know inherently, like, that you're right, or I wouldn't have wrote it down. And the point I want to make is that we can't get to the other side of that question without thinking about it. We have to contemplate, because we've buried that deep with it. We don't want people to know our weaknesses. We want to cover it up. We want people to see us as strong people, and that's where the veil comes in. That's where we feel like we cannot be ourselves. So that's why I wrote it down, because I know it's super important. I gotta do that so that I can know what my, where it could go wrong. Like, if I go to have a debate or defend an argument, what could I be exposed to that would weaken me? And if I know those things, and if I contemplate them and figure them out, I can eliminate them, or I can at least understand their nature. And I think you can't do that unless you ask these questions and slow life down and contemplate them.
Okay, now two things. First off, you realize that the restriction, the fear, is ego.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Getting away, right? What do people think of me? What do I think? What do I think of me? Because I've got this failure hanging around my neck. Okay, but I think when you sit there and you're at a gathering, you're at a party or something, or a discussion group, and you say, I've got this fear, I've got this failure about me, about such and such, but damn it, I'm trying all different ways of overcoming this. What a perfect way to engage others in not only helping you, but educating them. Anybody here have any suggestions how I can overcome this fear, this lacking? What? Screw it. Don't worry about it. Oh yeah, you could do this, or maybe you should try. Now you're getting involved in meaningful discussion, and the fear tends to wane when you're doing that, rather than trying to hide yourself under the cocktail table, or excuse yourself to go to the bathroom, or out for a smoke or something like that. But how hard that is. But I think there are always ways of being able to help yourself be stronger and be better, and you just can't stop. You just got to keep going, and never really give up, And I think the universe will let you know when it's time to give up, But doing what you don't want to do. When people ask me, what should I do when I don't know what to do? Do the thing that you least want to do. Yeah, no, that works. That really works, and it's meaningful. I hope that makes you feel a little better.
It does. Well, I equate it to, like, if I want what's best for my body physically, for example, right? I got to work out. when the alarm goes off at 5 a.m., I don't want to get up. I don't want to work out, but I know I know it's good for me, and I know I feel better after I do it. And to your point, there's always more. Just keep going, keep exploring. It's when you stop and you feel like you've made it, or you can sit back, that it gets uncomfortable again. And like if we do nothing, our life doesn't stay the same. It gets worse.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you just stay there and just if you sit on the couch, it's not gonna your life's not gonna go on this plane. It's gonna go like this because you need food, water, all the stuff. You got to keep feeding yourself spiritually, emotionally, physically, all that stuff, or else your life's gonna get worse.
Yeah. Yeah. It's even like somebody said to me, how much television do you watch? So I watch like maybe 3 hours of television a night. Really? That much television? Oh my God. I thought you were, intellectual and yeah, but you didn't ask me what I watch. I'm not watching Donald Duck, or I'm watching, the serial killer or something, I'm watching History Channel or Discovery or documentaries of different types, and lately I've been watching the science discovery on portals and this and that. It's
Ooh,
absolutely fascinating.
yeah.
Fascinating. What am I going to do? Read a book? But it's the same difference. It's actually the same difference, unless the book has something specifically that I want out of it. Well, that's a misnomer. So, I mean, I laugh because I have a relative who said the same thing to me that you said. It scares the living hell out of me. I don't want, and besides that, I don't want to do certain things. I'm supposed to. Okay, all right. All I'm trying to tell you is that here's here's the picture. Here's the picture. Here's the pathways. You you fill in the blanks. You're
I,
the you're the one that's living the life, not me.
this will put the exclamation point on my diatribe perhaps here. I think when we desire more things in our life, when we want to be greater, when we want to grow, the universe never gives us what we think it's going to. And it is by nature, those uncomfortable things are the green lights. Those are the things that we should be paying attention to. Because as soon as we break through those things, then we get what we're asking for. And when we shy away from them, it just takes longer to get that which we want. So that question of what are my weaknesses is perfect. Because if I want to go higher, my weaknesses are probably holding me back. And if I don't address them, I can't get better. There's a lot that I want in this world, and not just monetary, although I want that too. I want to be financially free, etc. There's spiritual growth rolled up in there, and other types of growth. And I know the only way to do that is to go to the scary places and to take it head on. I picture it like a storm. You look at a Doppler radar of a storm coming in. You walk the opposite way of a storm, you make it last longer. If you go into the storm, it goes right over top of you. If you run at it and go right at the storm, you solve it more quickly. So that's my takeaway today. That's what I want to share with anybody who might be watching this. That it is those fears by their very nature that are holding you back from going to where you want to go. And the only way to overcome them is to face them, understand them. And as soon as you just try to do that, you're making progress and it immediately feels better to you.
Good. Yeah. And I want to close with this comment. Uh, I'm sending these tapes, these sessions out to people, social media and whatnot. And I'm sure that out there are people who are watching this and saying, these guys are crazy. I'm gonna face my fears. I'm gonna I'm gonna not I'm gonna do the things I don't want to do. But join our conversation and let's hear why you feel that way. And we'll tell you how we felt that way and how we overcame it. So I'm inviting anybody and everybody that wants to be part of this to contact either Coach Josh or myself and set something up. Join us. Join us. Doesn't cost you anything. And if you don't like that, then I'll charge you. Charge you, and we'll fix that. We'll fix that concern. But just just come on into the conversation. When you have something to say, say it.
I grow every time that you and I talk. So to have a third person that would be involved in these conversations who also desires to grow and to explore these concepts further and to gain a more circular understanding of these things, come on down. I'm looking forward to it.
Good, good, great. Another great session. I love it. I love the fact that you're only 32 years old.
33.
Oh, 33. Oh, that's even better. That's a better year. My God, Josh, Jesus, you're younger than my kids. My God, but you got that wisdom. You got that understanding. You got that grasp of the metaphysics of life, which is so great. It's just so good. And I don't think it'll be another 10 or 15 years before you appreciate what you're doing for people just by who you are right now. So once again, please join us. I think you'll get a lot out of it.
Thank you, Dr. Bob. Always a pleasure.
Have a great week.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Talk to you soon.